Welcome back. In my continuing, if sporadic, playlist on the NHL franchises and their good fortune or misfortune from 99, 2000 through until now, we're up to Dallas, which means it's the year after they won the Stanley Cup in 99, right? And this was their jersey, and they were victorious and all of that. But since then, it's been a mixed bag, and they missed the playoffs almost half the season since. They've missed the playoffs 10 of the last 21 seasons. And they don't usually miss by a lot. They've never really gone through a full-on rebuild. Not your technical rebuild anyways, which has been frustrating to me as a Stars fan at times, where I felt like maybe they've needed a rebuild, maybe they've needed to get younger, but they still managed to stay competitive. But if somebody told me, hey, next year they're back in the Central, they're going to end up finishing 5th, and they're going to miss the playoffs by 2 points, I'd go, yeah, that's pretty much on brand. So we'll start with 99-2000, where this is them coming off the Stanley Cup and wanting to repeat. They almost did. So the record was 43-23-10-6 that year. In round 1, they beat Edmonton in 5. Round 2, they beat San Jose, also in 5. So this was just cruising through the first couple of rounds. And Edmonton, I know they beat Dallas once, but as a Stars fan, I remember going, oh, yeah, Edmonton, good. We're against Edmonton in the first round. Good. Whew, man, that's great. In Colorado, they beat them in 7. They did pretty well against Colorado Avalanche. But then in the Stanley Cup final, they run into the New Jersey Devils, who were on their way to their second ever Stanley Cup. And they won it in 6 against Dallas. Mike Modano was the leading scorer for Dallas that year. 77 games, 38 goals, 43 assists, 81 points. Really steady scorer, Mike Modano. He had some really flashy, huge scoring seasons, but generally he was just a very good 35 to 40 goal player who also chipped in about a point a game. In the playoffs, he's about a point a game. 23 games, 10 goals, 13 assists, 23 points, or exactly a point a game. 2000-2001, this is where you start to see the cracks in the playoffs. So they're 48-24-8-2 during the regular season. Who did they meet in the first round? Right, Edmonton. They beat them six games. They knock out Edmonton. Again, I'm like, oh, 6. That should have been 5. But they meet St. Louis in the next round. St. Louis, not known as a juggernaut in the playoffs. However, they knock out the Dallas Stars in 4 straight. So this is kind of the nemesis of the Dallas Stars, if you look at this board, is St. Louis. It's bizarre, but they've become that. I did a video last year on the rivalry between Minnesota and St. Louis, and there were a lot of people going, or not Minnesota, Dallas, who were Minnesota when they were Minnesota North Stars, then the Dallas Stars against St. Louis. And there were people going, well, there isn't really a rivalry. And yet these teams have met each other in the playoffs a lot. They have met in the playoffs a lot. It's not usually a series that's ugly or necessarily goes the distance that often. And yeah, when it's lopsided and in recent meetings it's just been St. Louis winning it, it's not as memorable as some of the other rivalries. Modano's again the leading scorer. 81 games, 33 goals, 51 assists, 84 points. In the playoffs, 9 games, 3 goals, 4 assists, 7 points. And then they missed the playoffs. 2001-2002, they're 36-28, 13-5. Modano led them in scoring again, 78 games, 34 goals, 43 assists, 77 points. Just steady, very steady from Mike Modano. 2002-2003, they get back into the playoffs, 46-17, 15-4. Round 1, Edmonton. So they knock out Edmonton in 6. And so, in other words, when I get to the Edmonton part of this series, you're going to see a lot of Dallas Stars logos. But then they met Anaheim in the second round, and Anaheim took them out in 6. Modano's the leading scorer again, 79 games, 28 goals, 57 assists, 85 points. And in the playoffs, 12 games, 5 goals, 10 assists, 15 points. Interesting note, of course, is 2003, they lose to Anaheim. Vancouver lost to Minnesota, preventing me seeing Dallas and Vancouver with a chance to send one of them to the Stanley Cup final. Now, if Dallas had been able to get to that final, they would have met New Jersey again, and that would have been a great meeting. But I thought, the 2003 was really wide open, and then both the teams I was cheering for were out in the second round, which is not that unusual. 2003-2004, 41-26, 13-2. They're still in the playoffs, but they lost against Colorado in 5. So Colorado clearly having remembered when Dallas took them out in 99 and 2000. 2004, they take care of that. Bill Guerin leads him in scoring that year. 82 games, 34 goals, 35 assists, 69 points. In the playoffs, he manages 1 assist in 5 games as Colorado takes him out. So we have the lockout wiped out season of 04-05. Dallas comes back in 05-06. They look pretty good. 53, 23, and 6. They go to the playoffs. They're against Colorado again. We're going to get revenge? No, they lost in 5. Modano leads them in scoring, 78 games, 27 goals, 50 assists, 77 points. In the playoffs, he records a goal and 3 assists in 5 games. So, any thought of, hey, maybe they can get back to the Stanley Cup? That's gone. It's just gone. At this point, they're just a really good regular season team. In 2006-2007, that narrative continues. 50, 25, and 7 is their record, and in the first round, they met Vancouver. And yes, I was very happy when that took place, because I was like, all right, so I'm guaranteed to have a team I cheer for in the next round, and I can just enjoy a Dallas-Vancouver series. And I did. And, you know, there was the game that went into all those overtimes to start the series. Vancouver beats them in 7. And I felt really bad for Marty Turco, because Turco along the way here had been garnering a reputation as a goalie that couldn't win in the playoffs. Put up fantastic numbers against Vancouver. His team couldn't score. Their leading scorer is Mike Ribeiro that year. 81 games, 18 goals, 41 assists, 59 points. In the playoffs, he records 3 assists in 7 games. They just couldn't score on Luongo. So 2007-2008, again, 45, 30, and 7. Not bad during the regular season. And then they went in the postseason. They beat Anaheim in 6 in the first round. They beat San Jose in 6 in the second round. And then in the conference final, they lost against Detroit in 6. Mike Ribeiro's their leading scorer again. 76 games, 27 goals, 56 assists, 83 points. In the playoffs, 18 games, 3 goals, 14 assists, 17 points. Not too shabby. Ribeiro played pretty well that year. 2008-2009, they finished with a record of 36, 35, and 11, and this is where the no playoffs becomes really prominent. So they don't make the playoffs. Ribeiro leads them in scoring again, 3rd year in a row. 82 games, 22 goals, 56 assists, 78 points. But again, no playoffs. Their record isn't bad, but they're not above the playoff line. So 2009-2010, they finished 37, 31, and 14. Richards is their leading scorer. Brad Richards, of course, signing a big contract with Dallas as they're trying to get back to the playoffs. Not happening. Richards had a great year, though. 80 games, 24 goals, 67 assists for 91 points. He leads them in scoring in 2010-2011 as well, but they're still not in the playoffs. 42, 29, and 11. Good record, sure. Not in the playoffs. Richards, 72 games, 28 goals, 49 assists, 77 points. So, leading scorer, yes, he's not going to be a Dallas star for much longer. And that, while he was good in Dallas, that era didn't really go very far for them. 2011-2012, 42, 35, and 5 is the record. Again, no playoffs. Their leading scorer is Louis Eriksson. 82 games, 26 goals, 45 assists, 71 points. And it's weird. You know, Louis is this guy who's played for Boston, played for Dallas, played for Vancouver. Good in Dallas, good in Boston. Just miserable in Vancouver. Just, it's not worked at all. And if his contract was less, I could see Boston or Dallas being willing to take him back and go, sure, we'll take him. Sure, we'll see if we can fix this. But at that contract, it's like, no. So 2012-2013, still no playoffs. 22, and 4 is their record. It's a lockout shortened season. Jamie Benn is now their leading scorer. 41 games, 12 goals, 21 assists, 33 points. And you could see in Jamie Benn, with each passing season, he was getting more confident, getting stronger, and becoming a better player. 2013-2014, they go back to the playoffs. 40, 31, and 11 is the record. They had the same number of wins in 2014 that the LA Kings had in 2012. Hey, can they have a miracle run? No. Anaheim takes them out in the first round in 6. Tyler Seguin's their leading scorer. 80 games, 37 goals, 47 assists, 84 points. In the playoffs, he records a goal and 2 assists in 6 games as Anaheim shuts them down and takes them out. 2014-2015, back to no playoffs. 41, 31, and 10 is the record. Again, the record's good. It's not like they're, collapsing out of the playoffs and they have an absolutely terrible record. They're always pretty good. Their leading scorer that year's Ben, 82 games, 35 goals, 52 assists, 87 points. Much like Modano before him, he is a very consistent scorer for Dallas. Very good. Ends up winning himself an Art Ross as well along the way. 2015-2016, they make the playoffs. 50, 23, and 9 is their record. And in the first round, they knocked out the Minnesota Wild in 6. But in the second round, they went up against St. Louis. They lost that one in 7. They had no problem scoring. They couldn't keep the puck out of their net. That was when they were trying the Lehtinen-Niemi tandem, and it just didn't work. Jamie Benn's their leading scorer again, 82 games, 41 goals, 48 assists, 89 points. In the playoffs, 13 games, 5 goals, 10 assists for 15 points. And then we go back to no playoffs. This is a team that they get in, and then now they're back out again. 2016-2017, they finished 34, 37, and 11. It is unusual to see them with a below 500 record. That is unusual, right? No playoffs. Tyler Seguin, 82 games, 26 goals, 46 assists for 72 points. So they're a top-heavy team, and now we're getting into them being a team that has trouble scoring, and I'll review that over here. Each one of these videos, I'm going to try to do something different with this column and just look at something different with each team. 2017-2018, 42, 32, and 8 is their record. Again, they're above 500. They're playing relatively well, just no playoffs. Jamie Benn, 82 games, 36 goals, 43 assists, 79 points. So you can set your watch by Jamie Benn. Very, very predictable that he's going to be a good scorer. Tyler Seguin, also very predictable, good scorer for Dallas. Just no playoffs. 2018-2019, they do get back to the playoffs. 43 wins, 32 losses, 7 overtime or shootout losses for them. Round 1, they beat Nashville in 6. Round 2, St. Louis. They can't beat St. Louis. They lose that one in 7. So that's twice they've lost in 7 against Dallas or against St. Louis in 3 years. And I wasn't really overly surprised with that result. Seguin leads them in scoring. 82 games, 33 goals, 47 assists, 80 points. In the playoffs, 13 games, 4 goals, 7 assists, 11 points. 2019-2020, so we're up to last year. They go 37, 24, and 8. Very good regular season record. And they end up with a pretty good seeding in the playoffs. In the first round, they take out Calgary in 6. And that was a series that absolutely Calgary could have won it. And just it goes the other way, and Dallas gets the victory, and it all rolls downhill from there for Dallas. Round 2, they take out the Avalanche in 7. That's the series where they had the lead. Michael Hutchinson's in it. We're going to beat Hutchinson, no problem. It seemed like Dallas would have been saying. However, Hutchinson had other ideas, and it was close. In the end, it was really, really close. You have to wonder how different narratives would be in hockey if Colorado had actually come back and won that series in 7, right? But for Dallas, they take that momentum and that confidence. They knock out Vegas in 5. Vegas also had Thatcher Demko stuck in their heads, as they said after they got knocked out in that series in 5. And they go to a Stanley Cup final where they lose against Tampa in 6. First time they'd been in the Stanley Cup final since 2000, so it's been 20 years. And they lost by the exact same number, 4 games to 2. Seguin, 69 games during the regular season, 17 goals, 33 assists, 50 points. In the playoffs, he struggled offensively, but defensively he played better, I thought, than he normally did. Understood that he had limitations due to injury with his offense, so he used his defense. 26 games, 2 goals, 11 assists, 13 points. Would have been great if he'd scored. I agree, would have been great if he scored more, but he couldn't. So then we come up to this year, 2020, 2021. 23, 19, and 14. Those 14 overtime / shootout loss points. No playoffs, obviously. Pavelski, 56 games, 25 goals, 56 assists, 51 points. Great season for Pavelski. Started off really hot, but by the end of the year, still almost a point a game. Not too shabby. The interesting thing with Dallas is they missed the playoffs 10 times. 2002, they finished 17th in the NHL, so they're that close, right? They're 15th in goals for, 18th in goals against, and they were 5 points out of the playoffs. 2009, the next time they missed the playoffs, they were 22nd in the NHL. They're 20th in goals for, 25th in goals against, 9 points out. That's a disastrous season by Dallas standards, is 2008, 2009, and yet they finished 36, 35, and 11. So it's not a horrible record, really. 2010, they finished 20th. They were 9th in goals for and 23rd in goals against. They were 7 points out of the playoffs. So that year they couldn't keep the puck out of their net often enough to get into the playoffs. 2011, they were actually 16th in the NHL. They were 17th in goals for, 16th in goals against. They missed the playoffs by 2 points. Yep. And I remember that game, and I was so mad because they would have finished ahead of Chicago. All they had to do, and I'm like, all you guys have to do is win. No, don't lose. That's the opposite. You're supposed to win. I don't want Vancouver, Chicago again. That was how I felt at the time. 2012, they finished 18th. 21st in goals for, 13th in goals against, and 6 points out of the playoffs. So again, they're within shouting distance. Like nope. 2013, they were 21st in the NHL, 12th in goals for, 23rd in goals against, and they were 7 points out of the playoffs. 2015, they're 19th overall in the NHL. They were 2nd in goals for, 26th in goals against, and they were 7 points out of the playoffs. So no problem scoring. Couldn't keep the puck out of their net. 2017, they're 24th overall, which is the lowest they've been over the last 21 years. 17th in goals for, 29th in goals against, 15 points out of the playoffs. So the closest you're going to get to seeing a rebuild from them would have been the 2017 season, but they bounced back at the year after that, and the year before that, they were in the playoffs with 50 wins. 2018, when they missed the playoffs, they were 19th in the league that year, 18th in goals for, 7th in goals against. So now they were a team that had trouble scoring and had no problem keeping the puck out of the net. Only 3 points out of the playoffs. And the year we just finished, 2020-2021, they were 17th overall in the NHL, 18th in goals for again. They like being 18th apparently. And 9th in goals against, and 4 points out of the playoffs. So 5 points out, 2 points out, 6 points out, 3 points out, 4 points out. And that's the whole thing with Dallas. And yet they've got guys like Klingberg and Heiskanen, and they've got some good young players. They got Ottinger coming up in net. They've been pretty smart with their drafting, which has kept them competitive and avoided them needing to do a complete rebuild. But it would be nice to see a team that could both score and keep the puck out of their net. And once Dallas gets to that, maybe, just maybe, they can get back to their days of glory, which was that 1 year, which was 99. But hey, I really do believe that Dallas probably isn't that far off. It's just going to involve guys being healthier and, again, finding the back of the net just a little more regularly. All right, there you go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happen upon this video. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.